it's Jeff. It's Jeff, the map guy, or Maps by Jeff, or I don't know who you are anymore.
Hey, Kevin.
Well, cheers. This is a Whiskey Fireside chat. I'm not sure what number it is, and it's kind of the afternoon, so I'm having a wee dram. But this is my buddy Andy gave me this for Christmas. Green Spot
Nice.
whiskey. Oh Lord! Now looking at your last name, are you Irish?
Honestly, I think it's like a mix, right? Like because my great grandparents or something that came to Canada, so it's kind of far enough back that I'm not 100% sure, but that's kind of what I've been told.
Once again, it's a mystery who Jeff really is.
Yes.
Man, well, fantastic. Well, I'm going to do a little intro of what's new, and then I'll get you
Yeah.
answer some questions about everything else too. Like, fantastic. They are out. They are out. Algonquin. Algonquin.
Woo!
Wow, that's fantastic. Incredible detail. I'm guessing they're just selling like hotcakes. It's an excellent map. And so let's start from the very beginning. Was it canoe
Yeah.
tripping that was first, or was it map making that was first for you?
Oh, no, that's a good question. Yeah, no, it was 100% canoe tripping. Like when I started doing the maps, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, to be perfectly honest, right? It was, yeah, like I guess I'd gotten into the canoe tripping, basically wanted a better map for myself, and I didn't have any inspiration or sorry, any idea that it would become bigger. I didn't have any desire for that. It was just, I like the tripping. I want a better map for myself. That's that. Yeah.
That's it. That's cool. So basically, did you have any background in map making before that, or you just went on the computer one night and said, I'll give this a try"?
Yeah, and that's the second thing there. Yeah, like I was in high school at the time, and yeah, again, a kind of a weird story, right? But it really was that I guess I'd gone on a trip with a friend, right? I've been doing some trips before that, but this is the first time I'd gone on a trip with like a friend of my age or whatever, right? And we'd gone to Algonquin, we'd gone to kind of a little used area of the park, and it turned out the map was very wrong, right? So like there were campsites on the wrong side of the lake, portage at the wrong side of the lake, portage that didn't exist, a lake with the wrong number of bays. It's like all these things that I thought were like a big deal or, navigationally. And so after, like, I told the park about it over and over, but then nothing changed. So it was, like I said, it was purely just that I'm like, hey, for myself, I want something better. And it kind of, rolled from there, spitball from there, I guess, right? Like eventually I showed some camping friends, and they're like, "Oh, this is cool." Like, okay. So then, down the road, like I put it online, and then I had people saying, "Oh, this is really cool." But again, like this is, I don't know, 2008 or something. So, like phones weren't a thing, and people were saying, "Well, that's great, but I can't really bring this with me." So I started doing like books and anyways, it all rolled from there, right? But the point was that like it really was just me wanting a better map for myself, and then everything else sort of just happened.
That's kind of cool. Now you did progress as a paddler as well. I mean, you did the meanest link, and you did it before I did. You actually, you and your buddies, taped the one Buzz Hill Mountain portage, and we followed your trail there, and you've gone everywhere too. So you've gone this way, not that way, Jeff. The well, who inspired you to go canoeing before the maps? Like, was there anything growing up? Who inspired you for that? Oh, I can't hear you, Jeff. Nope. No, I can't hear you anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, now I can.
Ooh, that's not good. One sec.
While you're doing that, I'll tell a funny story of a couple of times I met you, but one of the funniest ever was that you're working on one of your maps. You're in Algonquin Park and you're going across the portage with a GPS like this, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, and you walked right past everybody because you didn't look up from your GPS.
Yeah.
And I remember at the Toronto show, I told you about that story. I go, the only thing missing from that story is you didn't have tape around your glasses.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, no, you've done a whole bunch of tripping. And what are you going to say? Your father inspires you, or?
Sorry, yeah. So yeah, my dad had started bringing me and my brother on trips. Like I was 8, he was 6. And so when we started, we did like a week-long trip. And then every year after, he would just extend it by a certain number of days. So definitely, I guess early on, it was involuntary, right? I think me and my brother were like, we'd rather be at home. Like, why are we here when it's hot and buggy and there's no friends around? But obviously, it's, I guess at some point something clicked, right? But that was kind of what got me into it for sure.
That's really, really cool. And then you just started mapping because you found some of the maps at the time were not as good as they should be, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Just think about how maps have changed. I don't know if you have this in your archives, but look at this map. That's
Whoa, that's cool.
it's put together with a bolt.
That's interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
that's crazy. That's an old map from the 60s or 70s. And then of course you've seen this one here, like this book.
yeah,
But
yeah,
there's no way you're carrying that in the bush, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and you've gone from that to this, right? So, well, let's before we start talking about the detail of this map because it's
yeah.
incredible. You've gone from just maps, which were incredible maps, and then you went on to Unlostify, and
Yeah.
like yeah, so was it just there's two different people. I think I met both when I was at the Toronto show with you. So it was business partnership. So now you're with Maps by Jeff. Maps by Jeff.
That's right.
So, but is it just you now, or
Yeah, that's
okay?
right. Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So during that timeline, what can you tell us about what basically happened? It was just a different ideas and different likes and dislikes, whatever. Or you basically you've gone from being with partners and working together. Now you're on your own. So is that just a
Yeah,
learning
yeah.
curve, or
No, I mean, it's just I guess you call it a learning curve, right? Through life or whatever, right? So yeah, like the story is basically, like I said, when I started out, it was just me doing my own thing for myself. And then I guess it was like kind of when I finished university, again, this was just like a weird hobby or whatever, right? Off to the side. And I was trying to figure out what to do next. And I guess the map had already gotten a certain amount of traction. So, I thought it'd be neat to do this full time. But the biggest thing is, like what I had before was like a spiral bound book, kind of similar to what you were showing there, right? And not spiral bound, but you know what I mean? And as you said, right, like it's not the most practical thing. Like it was paper instead of waterproof and so on. And so I thought, if I'm gonna do this for real, I really want, like you said, something like this, right? Where you got like this nice folded waterproof sheet. It's great if you want to go put it in a store. It's nice and pocketable. It's kind of, in my mind, it's like the format that people would expect. And so to do that, you have to go buy, whatever 1,000 copies at a time. And so, I was again a very poor university student, but I had a middle school friend who had made a bunch of money, and that's kind of when he came into the picture. That was his role.
oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, so it was like now I can do this thing that I would like to do, and great, now there's some money to be able to do that. Unfortunately, again, you're talking about learning and lessons and all that, right? Unfortunately, he kind of acted inappropriately, and so at some point, I realized I gotta sort of part ways, get away from him. And I had definitely, I guess, wanted to continue the Jeff Spat thing and maybe buy him out or whatever. That didn't pan out. So eventually, then there's new name Unlostify. Like a year later or something like that. Me and another friend who I gotten into camping. He had a lot of fun with that. We thought, you know what? Let's give it another shot, right? Um, and so yeah, I mean that's where that's where that started from. Um, I don't know. I mean, like
We,
obviously, yeah,
we basically learn a lot. I mean, if you look at almost like parallel with me, like I've been through a couple of publishers through my life, and now the last couple of books were self-published. Why? Because I've learned, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
it's the same sort of idea. I think the only thing that I always felt bad about that was your name was still on the old one, right? And like we don't have to talk about all that because it's probably all legal stuff. But man, that must have hurt you inside.
Oh yeah, and even then, you just get all the time I get emails from people like multiple times a week of like, hey, I ordered maps and I didn't get them. And it's like, well, I wish there was something I could do other than say like, please contact your credit card company.
Yeah, I think you should have went and changed your name and become like change like a rock star, change their name, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I yeah, like I had asked him to do that and it didn't
Oh
happen.
no,
So
personally, I would have just
oh,
yeah,
oh,
I
yeah,
would have
yeah,
become
yeah, yeah.
like Ace Frehley. I don't think Ace Frehley is his real name. I don't think it is.
That's hilarious. There you go. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
Jeff, what are
yeah.
you talking about?
If I had to do it instead of Kevin Callan, I would be. I don't know really what I would be. I'd probably be Jeff. Be Jeff. Man,
That's funny.
well, let's go into so yeah, it was I think I know the answer to this. Like it took a while for the Algonquin map to come out, like 5 years, whatever, and you probably got some pressure on that, and you answered quite nicely on it. But look, I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. But when it came out, I think everybody just it's like drop what's the term? Drop the no wait. I don't know. Oh yeah, drop the mic. You just drop the mic
Yeah, 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 yeah.
because you know why it took you so long because the amount of detail. And I'll put up
Yeah,
some images of some of this. But let's go over some of this detail. Um,
sure.
let's talk about first of all the portages. Um, well, actually, let's start about the routes. You actually define the routes of how long it would take you, how difficult the route would be, how difficult the
Mhm.
portage would be. But to the point too that every portage you have this elevation thing. Like I can show you right here. Well, I'll put up the image. It'll be easier.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
show the elevation.
yeah.
How the heck did you get that information? I know you've canoed a lot. I know you actually probably have done most of the park, but did you get anybody else to help you out with that, obtaining that information, or because that's a lot of information?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, no, I mean, well, first off, the little secret device is this little one right here, little Garmin. But yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. See, there's a means to the madness. No, yeah, I mean, over the years, one of the things about the map is, again, like a lot of it's from certainly my experience, but I've always tried to pull from as many places as possible, books and old maps, whatever. But also then, feedback and input from other trippers. That's always been so important. And so, yeah, over the years, I've gotten quite a collection of GPS tracks from other folks that I could lean on for that. So that was great.
I think that really shows the progression of what we've gone from. Because I mean, the old days to obtain any information, you would have to write a letter and get the letter to be received back to you. And by that time, the trip's over. Where now the community we have on social media, people really do like sharing, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, some people probably don't. I mean, the angling world, I do no way I'm going to tell you my trout stream, but I will tell you the elevation of that portage because I don't want to ever do it again.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You also
Yeah.
showed where streams were, like freshwater streams, which that threw me. I went, wow, I didn't know there was that many freshwater streams in Algonquin. You also showed particular habitats where you probably would see a moose, good beach sites to have a swim. This is why it took you so long, right, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, in a sense, it's like you want to do a good job, and that's what it takes, right? So, yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. So, what about the color codes?
Yeah.
Can you explain the color codes?
Yeah. So, what did I call it? I think there's three difficulties: typical, challenging, and very difficult. Yeah. So, um, every feature has a story on the map. And this one, I guess, came from, you're talking about social media and stuff, but really it's like the idea that you get, whether it be social media or people emailing or forums or whatever, you see some of the same questions over and over from people, right? It's like, okay, great. I know the answer to that question, right? And so in the case of the difficulties, right, you might have somebody, let's say, writing an email saying like, hey, I'd love to go on a really challenging trip and yada yada, these are the things I'm looking for. And it's like, great, you can go here, 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 or here, or whatever, right? But that's always, there's kind of a limit to how much I can one-on-one with a bunch of people say, here's a bunch of options, right? And so, yeah, the idea with the color coding is I'm going to try to brain dump my opinion really onto the sheet, right? And the way I've done it is there's these, again, three colors: yellow, orange, red. for the typical challenging, very difficult. But that's essentially a summary. So there's always like more info on the sheet that explains like why it's that difficult, but it's the color coding sort of draws your attention to different spots. And I guess at the end of the day, my hope isn't to put people off, for example, from trying hard things or whatever. My hope though is that you can kind of set better expectations. And maybe you want to do a shorter day if you think it's going to be harder, or you want to do a certain amount of hard stuff per day and maybe a little bit more of the easier stuff, or whatever works for you, right? And I think it's really cool then to sort of be able to plan a trip like that. And honestly, even if you've never done it much before, you can hopefully plan the trip that's right for you.
Is that because canoe trippers are changing right now? They're more novice now compared to before, or they're going on less trips and wanting less work, or they want everything sort of given to them in one sense. Is that the reason why? I can actually visualize this all coming out of your head, by the way.
No, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to answer that. I mean, I guess like thinking back to forums from like 15 years ago, you'd see the same thing. Beyond that, I guess I have to speculate. I kind of wonder if the desire may have already always been there. But to your point, if in decades past, you'd have to go write someone a letter, you can't, even if you wanted that, that's not really a thing that could happen, right? So I think definitely technology has changed things. I don't know if it's changed what people want more than it's changed what's possible. I don't know. It's just speculation.
Well, I also think that you look into perfection because that's your character. I mean, again, I know a joke about it, but when I met you going across the portage like that's what you do, right? And I think it's a good healthy debate. Just this morning, actually, I had a random. I knew him from social media. I was at Tim Hortons getting a coffee, and the guy came up to me, and goes, "I read your review on Jeff's new maps," and I went, "Yeah. So what do you think?" He goes, "You know how I determine the height of the portage is when I get there." Okay.
Yeah.
And I went, good point. And of course, he was that old age, type person, and he had a good point. But I said, but then you're liking what I do, and I write guidebooks. So I've written guidebooks on telling everybody where to go. So you're not cursing me. So why you like, so don't buy the map then, man. Just go to the portage. The one thing I think the detail I did notice also, you showed backcountry routes, like bushwhacking routes. You call
Yeah.
which to me, I lost canoe routes. Woohoo! I'm there, right? Did you get anybody sort of in the fishing world saying, "I'll kill you, man"? You tell everybody where the fishing spot is.
I mean, fishing, not so much, but I guess it's the approach I've always taken. So ever since I put fish stuff on the map, which is a long time ago, I've always said, like, essentially factually, there are this species of fish in this lake, but I'm not telling you where the good fishing is or something like that, right? I'm just saying there's trout here and there ain't trout there. You go on your own, right? And I think, at least in effect, to your point of like, am I giving someone's, let's say, secret lake away or whatever, right? I mean, all the bushwhacking routes, like that's not really a thing. Like you're following, let's say, a creek or a river or something. I think usually, I'm speculating here, usually if someone has a secret bushwhacking lake, they're going to a lake or something, right? Versus what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
yeah. I think what you did in the book, or sorry, not the book, the map, sorry, is you showed the old routes,
Oh yeah.
but the question is, why are those routes no longer there? It's because probably they're not that easy. So if you decide to go there, I'll give you everybody your personal address, and they'll come and visit you.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know. One other thing to tack on there is it's something that I find very interesting, the bushwhacking routes, and I've always liked like the harder end of things. Again, even the 15 years ago, we had all this trouble. Like we were trying to do some more challenging routes, and it's always fun in a sense when you're going places that not a lot of other people go. And a slight digression, I guess, but the one problem I'd always had on the maps is, again, there's a kind of a wide audience, right? There's definitely like newer people that use them, a lot more experienced people that use them, and it's like, how do you put all these options on the map and make sure, in a sense, that like the newbies don't do a thing that makes them say, I never want to go camping again. And at the same time, like giving the info for the people who like that's their thing. So what I'd done is, in addition to the color coding, the ones that you're talking about, they look like they're penciled on. And the reason I'd done that, like I really see them as a progression, but I visualize them differently because in the past, with the Unlostify maps, I'd done like yellow, orange, red, and red was like bushwhacky. But I eventually found that people thought like, oh, I did some, let's say, challenging ones. Let's do some extreme ones. And you're like, but I said there's bushwhacking. And, you know, there's a disconnect, I guess, right? So you get people who have bad experiences. And yeah, basically the different visualization, even though in a sense it really is a progression just beyond the very difficult I said before, visualizing it differently, I think, you know, makes them stand out as a different thing. And hopefully then you don't get that same, you know, newbie who thinks I'm going to go on a bushwhacking trip by accident.
Yeah, the map gives a bit for everybody, right? I think that's why I liked it. It is for the novice, it's for the extreme, it's for the angler, and yeah, you don't tell them where the good fishing is, but there's so many other maps, and the government has websites to show you what fish are in each lake too. That saves you the hassle of doing that because those, I don't know if you looked at those websites, they're very confusing. Like the Crown Land Atlas is just
Oh
well,
yeah, yeah.
good. I hope I'm not colorblind, but the other is that you also expanded the scale. I think that made a huge difference, and you also put the topo lines on it as well. But you expanded it so you know, with like looking at it like this, you have a lot of information, which if it was a smaller scale, would be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But as you expanded the scale, so was that a huge decision to make? Because that's a larger map, more maps, more cost.
I mean, so the challenging part was figuring out how to sort of do it efficiently in the ways you're just talking about. But I'd always, or it's been a long time since I've kind of concluded that needed to happen. Like the previous version that was very popular, one of the pieces of feedback that I got that, you know, I really agreed with in hindsight was, to your point, it's really cluttered. Some of the text was like tiny, like microscopic. And even so, there's just so much info on it. So I had known that's something I wanted to do, but like you said, it's like, how do you do it and in really a reasonable way? So the I don't know, the accomplishment, if you will, of the new map is just really figuring out a smart way to do it, which was basically I used to have like 4 segments of Algonquin. Now I have 5, but then they're also double-sided. So in a sense, you're going from 4 maps to like 10 maps, if you will, like 5 double-sided sheets. So that was the trick that let me do it. And again, I definitely wanted to do it, but it was just figuring it out.
Yeah, and great progression too, because you look at Unlostify to actually the Algonquin, which was going to, I guess, was going to be Unlostify, and then it changed over and whatever, all that stuff happened. But
Yeah.
have it double-sided and large, and have all that information. It's a pretty good package, I got to say. So the one other thing that has come to light with to me from other people that you probably heard is that what about all the other maps people are making? For example, Friends of Algonquin, Friends of Killarney. They make their money, a nonprofit group, for that by selling their maps.
Yeah.
Did they come to your door and say we don't like it? Like,
Well, I mean, at least in the past, like Friends of Algonquin sold my map way back, and they probably made more doing that than selling their own. Eventually they didn't, but that was because the park didn't like that I showed logging roads, and the park said, get rid
oh,
of them. Yeah, but yeah,
really?
yeah, oh yeah.
I
And
did
then
not know that. I found that really interesting.
yeah, no, because like again, we're going back a little bit here, but yeah, like they were making more than the $5 they charged for their map in pure profit off of selling mine. And then yeah, I guess there was another time, again, we're going back here in like 2016 where I got a call from the assistant superintendent of Killarney, and he was interested in selling the map. But unfortunately, that was basically when all the business partner stuff happened with Jeff's map, so that kind of went by the wayside. But yeah,
Wow, well,
and
that's interesting. I didn't know about the roads. I find that's a whole whiskey chat in itself.
yeah,
Don't tell everybody. Don't pull the curtain. from Wizard of Oz.
100%. Exactly. Yeah.
Man, wow. Okay, that's really cool. Jeez. All right. I was supposed to keep the script. I've never kept the script. With the details. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, all right. So first of all, what is your next canoe trip? Forget maps.
Yeah.
What trips do you have planned for this coming season?
So I have the first trip planned, and it's a bushwhacking trip actually. Um, I'll be a little cagey because I don't know if my friends want me talking about it too much, but we're doing something in the south part of Algonquin. We're doing a loop basically. And if you look at the map, like typically there's like a one-way route through the park. There's like a bunch of like long, like 2K, 2K, 3K, whatever portages. But we're gonna do a bit of that and then a bit of an old route outside the park. Actually, never mind, it's printed on the map, so I guess it's not a
I
secret.
know where you're
But
going. I know the route.
never mind. But yeah.
It's not an easy route, and I never put it into a book. And yeah, good luck. You're crazy.
Yeah. No, but I mean, yeah.
So you have some routes. So you're still canoe tripping. Have you gone on a canoe trip where you have not thought of mapping it? You just did it?
That's a good question. No, not really. But I think that's because the amount of, like, how to put it, I don't really do that much differently, to be honest, if I'm mapping it versus doing it, just as I would normally. Mini story. I remember years ago I had met, I think, the guys who had Muskoka Paddle Shack, and we were talking, and they had said that like when they had gotten into having the store, they did it because they love the outdoors. Now that they have the store, well, you couldn't get outdoors as much. And I've always felt that I was kind of lucky in a sense because like the map making is I'm in front of the computer here. But then I go on the trip, and the trip's almost the same as it would be otherwise. Yeah, I got the GPS and my face is stuffed in it or whatever. But honestly, most of that is not necessary. Yeah, I had a button once or twice or whatever, but for the most part, it's pretty passive, and so that makes for a pretty great experience. In that, I'm just doing the tripping, and it's recording me, and later on, you make something of it.
Yeah, it's an extra bonus. I mean, that's how I wrote guidebooks. I remember
Yeah.
I started guiding because my editor said, "Can you not do so many solo trips? It's a really boring read." And so I started guiding it and to make some money too. But yeah, that's interesting. So what about what's new with the maps? Are you going to now that you're Maps by Jeff? Are you going to keep to this style and redo all the Unlostify ones like Clarny, the Corthas, or are you going to keep those the way they are and
Oh
go to
no,
other areas?
no. I mean, sure, I'd like to do other areas eventually, but no, I'm going to definitely update, if you will, the other maps, the new style. I mean, I kind of touched on this a bit before, but one of the things about the way I try to design the maps is I don't see them as like a static thing that's never going to change, like I've reached perfection. Because as much as I might try, there's always things to change and improve. And so, really, over time, again, the style you see on this Algonquin map, I have ideas for the future too. So yeah, you're always trying to bring things forward. And again, when somebody says I don't like something, sometimes it's fine, it's just not their thing. But sometimes there's a kernel of truth in there where you're like, you know what? That's actually a really good point. Let's see how I can improve things. So yeah, it's always trying to move them all forward. There's no such thing in my mind as like the design that will never change.
Oh, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. I'm looking forward to that. And you might even change the name again to
Oh God.
Maps and Other Things by Jeff or Jeffrey's Design, or I don't know. No, that's fantastic. I'm so glad this all happened to you. You're a great guy. I've met you a few times at shows, but also out in the woods too. And you're a great person, and you well deserve all of this. And so we now know what's going on next. You're going to still go canoeing. Might make some more maps. Might redesign some more maps, and maybe you should add some more tape to your glasses.
Yeah, exactly. Because Kevin wanted me to.
I would love to see. I'll do that as well. I'll do that as well. No, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, cheers to you, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic maps and a fantastic person.
Thank you very much, man.